What's up, everybody? Jeff Cooper here. Before we get to today's video, which is going to be a response to Dr. Sean McDowell and his reasons for a soul, just wanted to remind everybody, if you would please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and ringing the bell, getting notifications. And that'll let you know when I put new videos out. Should be about once a week or so. Don't really have a set schedule yet. My full-time job schedule is I work night shift. I never know what day it is. It's a mess. Anyways, enjoy. We'll see you in the video. What's up, everybody? Jeff Cooper here. Welcome back to Blue Collar Heathen on YouTube. Today, going to be responding to Dr. Sean McDowell. Dr. McDowell has a PhD in apologetics and worldview studies from Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. And he has released a video entitled, How Do We Know We Have a Soul? So, without much further ado, let's get into it and see what the good doctor has to say. Nice intro.
How do we know that we have a soul? This is important because the Bible seems to teach that we are body and we are soul. Jesus talked about not fearing the one who can just destroy the body, but fearing the one who can destroy the body and the soul. So in our age of science, what evidence is there for a soul? Let me quickly give you just 3 arguments.
So, wait a minute here. If you're going to give evidence of a soul, give evidence of a soul. Show us where it is. Describe what it does. Describe what its function is. No, just give me arguments. Give me evidence. Evidence is not argument. These are different things. Thought that would be self-explanatory. Moving on.
One is free will. I'm not talking about Calvinism versus Arminianism.
Calvinism versus Arminianism. All right, dude. Okay. So Dr. McDowell makes a distinction that he's not talking about Calvinism versus Arminianism. Now, what's that? These are competing doctrines within Protestantism about the power and nature of God and how their God interacts with the reality or his alleged creation. That doesn't have much to do with free will or a soul, for that matter. But he seems to think that it's relevant to bring it up here, so we'll see what else goes on about this.
I'm simply saying that we as human beings have the capacity to make choices that are up to us. This can only happen if there's an immaterial part about ourselves, namely a soul.
Namely a soul. He keeps saying that there's a soul, and so far he said it's kind of part of the body, but it's immaterial. Body, immaterial. Immaterial body. These seem to be different things. If it's immaterial, then it's not part of the body.
Because physical things are acted upon by the environment and have no choice. Yet if human beings can look at A and B and C and choose the one that we want, it means there's more to us than purely physical matter, namely a soul.
And again, he keeps ending it with namely a soul. He's merely trying to assert that the soul exists, but he's not providing any evidence of it. He is just making these, not even generalizations, he's just making these statements that are not really evidence of a damn thing, even if they could be shown to be true.
A second argument are near-death experiences.
Near-death experiences? Seriously? Near-death experiences. That's what you're going to go with? All right.
And all I mean by near-death experiences are people who die, their heart stops beating, or their brain stops functioning, and they're medically dead, but then they come back and are able to describe things they could not have known from the state that they were in.
Dr. McDowell. Things that they could not have known from the state that they were in. And they just come back. No, they don't. No, they don't. You don't just come back from a cardiac arrest. That's nonsense. There's a lot that goes into resuscitating a patient that's in cardiac arrest. I might know a thing or two about this. I'm a paramedic. It's kind of what I do for a living. The acuity of that patient, it doesn't get any worse than that. You are literally doing everything you can to get that heart beating again, and hopefully perfusing, bringing blood and oxygen to the rest of the body in an attempt to save the brain. We're not doing it in an attempt to save the soul. We're doing it in an attempt to save the brain. Just comes back.
And there are multiple carefully documented in peer-reviewed journal articles about times where this has happened and people have information they couldn't have known. This doesn't prove Christianity. That doesn't prove the soul is eternal. But it tells us there's an immaterial part of ourselves. When the body stops functioning, the soul continues on.
Now, this is not entirely true. There have been a number of studies done on near-death experiences. The majority of them are fairly flawed. And the reason that they are is because the subjects were self-reporting. Many of them were conducted years or even decades after the events in question. So you have all sorts of room for bias, for cultural influence, for religious influence that can take and taint the reliability of the information that you would get from an interviewee after so long has passed since the events. Now, there's been a much smaller number fairly recently, a few hundred, that were conducted in hospital, where if someone were to go into cardiac arrest and be successfully resuscitated, not resurrected, because that's not a thing, if they were to be successfully resuscitated, then they were interviewed at that time. And though Dr. McDowell has not cited the studies that he's talking about, hasn't said which specific ones, I think that if you were to look at the smaller sample of the ones that were conducted in hospital, I'm not sure that it would show all of the information, as he said, that he would think. But let's get back to it.
And the third reason would be is just to make a distinction between, say, the mind and the brain, or the body and the soul.
Make a distinction. Make a distinction. You have to make a distinction between the mind and the brain and the body and the soul. You have to make it because it isn't there.
Many atheists will say there is no soul. Everything that exists is purely physical. But the problem is that there's parts of our mind or parts of our souls that can't be described in physical terms.
Parts of our mind or parts of our soul that can't be described in physical terms, but they can be described in physical terms. But they can. You could put a brain in an fMRI and see different parts of it illuminated as it has different thoughts. And the emotions or the memories that those thoughts bring out will illuminate different parts of the brain. That's physical. We can describe it in physical terms. Pure nonsense.
Things like pain, for example. You can't explain pain in physical terms.
Bullshit, I can't. I can't explain pain in physical terms. All right. Can't explain pain in physical terms. Okay. Yeah, challenge accepted. You smash your hand with a hammer. There's nerves in your thumb which send a signal up through your arm to your spinal cord, straight up to the brain. The brain perceives it as pain. This is all physical terms. And you want to talk about emotional pain, you want to talk about trauma, you want to talk about something like that. If that's the definition of pain that you're going to use here, you can describe that in physical terms too. Because again, you can see what parts of the brain are affected by this, by someone that's grieving. You know, you could see, we could physically see it. You know, someone that's grieving or someone that's falling in love. You can see the differences. Baseless assertions he's making, nothing more.
It's a sense of hurtfulness that's rooted in our body, but also in our soul.
He is going with the emotional
thing. Sensations are a part of the mind and can't be described in physical terminology as parts of the brain can be.
But I just did. So, meh.
So when we look at free will, we look at near-death experiences, we look at characteristics that are different of the mind and the brain or the body and the soul, we have 3 good reasons to think that the soul exists.
No, you don't. You've got 3 flawed arguments that you've made saying that a soul exists, but none of these are reasons to think that it does. Your arguments are not convincing. So that isn't a reason.
Now there's many more than this.
Are there?
The bottom line is, I think the Bible got it right.
Well, there you go. There you go. That's it. He thinks the Bible got it right. Well, that would be a first for the Bible.
You are body and you are soul. And if you want to be a healthy person, you got to take care of both your body and take care of your soul.
So, you could take care of your body. You could take care of your well-being. You could take care of your mind and your brain. Your soul? What he means by that, I think, is to stay in church and to stay in religion, because they're in the soul-saving business. It's an imperative for Christians to make everyone believe they have a soul. If they can get everyone to believe they have a soul, then Christianity has a purpose. Because, like I said, they're in the soul-saving business. But if you doubt that, if you demand evidence for a soul, and they come up without any, there's really not much point. Then their Jesus died for no reason. Anyways, like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, get the notifications. I'm Jeff Cooper. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.